Okay, now it should be live streaming. I'm recording as a backup. It's all yours, Debbie.
Okay, now I see it.
Or Janice, if Janice is there.
Yeah, Janice is here.
Clown.
Janice
All right.
is here.
You're good.
Okay. What, 02?
No, 7:10
7:10?
on April 11th, 2024.
2024, we're meeting the meeting of the CB11 Parcel Committee. Okay, we have President Jennifer Wallet, Joe Thompson, and Lisa Soto. And our guests.
Patrick Peralt with AKRF.
And where are you from?
Oh, a company called AKRF.
KKRF?
AKRF.
Oh, AKRF, okay.
And can those that work with Patrick identify yourselves?
Sure. Hi, good evening, everyone. Amy Motsney with New York City Department of Environmental Protection. Patrick is representing our team tonight to give an intro on the Cloudburst program and the project plan for this area. I'm joined with a few of my colleagues as well. There's quite a few of us. We could all do introductions. That's helpful.
Sure. Hi, I'm Kim Haas with Haas Media.
Hi, Effie Ortizzoni, Bronx Community Affairs Liaison for DEP.
Hi, Caitlin Staff, also a DEP, work primarily with Amy. Nice to meet you all.
Hi, this is Tony Lee. I'm with DEP. I'm the project manager.
Hello, Adriana Kokovic, also with DEP, and I'm the Director of Green Infrastructure.
Hello, my name is Miki Arisaka. I'm also with DEP at the Green Infrastructure Program.
I think that's all from our team.
Try to share my screen, but I think Amy at the same time might do setting the stage. See if I can get this right.
Oh yeah, should I kick us off? Are we ready for DEP?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, great. All right. Well, thank you all for having us tonight. We're excited to present a very early sort of overview of the project that is planned for the Parkchester Morris Park area. This is part of NYC DEP's Cloudburst program. Cloudburst program is a program that we've initiated in response to address flooding, primarily in this case street flooding, but it is one of many tools in our toolkit for resiliency measures. As part of this this project and this program overall, these you'll see, and Patrick will present as he progresses slides tonight, but it's not just a one site type of project. It's actually more of a watershed scale or catchment scale project. So it's spanning a pretty substantial area throughout the neighborhood. And so as part of that, we want to ensure that we're connecting with folks in the community to talk about the project, what it's going to address in terms of the flood mitigation, and work with you all in the coming months to see how you feel about it and get some of your feedback during the design process. So that's just kind of the broad overview. Patrick will give a lot more detail of how this fits into some of the initiatives that we're doing at DEP, and I'll.
Well,
Frozen.
We lost you for a little bit, but I think we caught most of that. Are you still there, Amy?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Again, now we hear
Yeah,
you.
we got you.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Just missed the last few sentences.
Okay. I think I was just passing it over to Patrick, but just making myself available for questions after he presents.
That's great. All right. Thanks, Amy. So I'm sharing my screen here. Yeah, so I have a number of slides here. A lot of it is just informational about the program, the Cloudburst program that Amy sort of touched upon. Just talking about flooding issues that we're seeing kind of citywide, but also obviously here on days like this, but on even heavier rainy days than we're going to have tonight. And then we'll talk about specifics to this area, the project, and then really want to hear back about how we can get the word out about the project beyond this group here. So, and I know I'm going to go through these slides. Please just stop me at any time with any questions. All right. So I sort of covered this just broadly, talking about flooding, the issues that we're seeing, as well as the solutions that DEP has come up with. We'll really focus at least half of the presentation on Parkchester and Morris Park, this Cloudburst Hub, the area that we're focusing on, and really try to focus on the outreach towards the tail end. Okay, so first up, flooding issues and solutions. So the problem at large that we're facing is that climate change, which we all know about, is causing sudden, more powerful storms that are resulting in a lot more street flooding, such as like what you see in the image here. It's not just here, it's really citywide. And we anticipate to see kind of more issues like this moving forward. So the city has come up with a number of different ways to help manage that rainfall, that stormwater, and it's really a multi-pronged approach. I won't go through all of these on the far right, but for the most part, especially most relevant to this project is gray infrastructure, which you may be familiar with, pipes that we have along the street that collect the stormwater. Then there's green infrastructure, which includes, just means of infiltrating some of that water into the native soil. You might see some rain gardens. I actually passed by a few on my walk over. Porous pavements, trees, etc. And there's a number of other ways to approach it, depending on the neighborhood, that we're working in. So the first line of defense that you'd probably guess is our sewers. So this gray infrastructure. And so in here, sewers, they work in rainstorm, in rain events, and protect about 98% of, protect us against about 98% of these rain events. But our sewers are really built to handle upwards of maybe just 1 3/4 inches of rain per hour. Even these giant sewers that we have with a guy sort of inside of it, it can only handle so much. So during some rain events, the system can get overwhelmed with the amount of water that's, that comes from this storm, and exceeds the capacity of pipes. Again, even ones, the size that we see here. And I like this example a lot. Just like we don't design roads for Memorial Day weekend traffic, or if you're driving from like watching the eclipse, if you are from Ohio, we also don't necessarily design our sewers to handle, hurricane level water, as you'd have during, what we're calling these big rain events, these cloudburst events. Okay. So hoping tonight doesn't look anything like this. But this is sort of what we're facing when it comes to a cloudburst event. So cloudburst, I kind of like the visual of it, like a cloud bursting, but it's really ultimately just a sudden, very heavy downpour where you've got a lot of rain that falls in a very short period of time. So, and like this image was during Ida, I believe. These cloudbursts can cause overland flooding, like in this image. Damage to property, disrupting critical infrastructure, waterways, and so on. And extreme examples, as we had seen, unfortunately, even cost loss of life, like we had seen during Ida. Oh, there we go. So, what's the city planning to do to help manage that or address those issues? We have cloudburst. So the simple way of we're calling it is cloudburst management. And it's a way of absorbing that stormwater, that rainfall, storing it and transferring it maybe to different places to help, effectively manage it. And it's a combination of gray infrastructure, like I said, pipes, maybe underground tanks, and green infrastructure, like these rain gardens, for instance, or porous pavement that you'll see in the streets. And they're designed to help manage street flooding during heavy events. And at the end of the day, they reduce pressure on the sewer system so that water doesn't just go into the pipes when they're already at capacity or over capacity. So, and ultimately minimize damage to property and so on.
I have a question.
Oh, please, yes.
When you said porous pavements,
Mhm.
where does the water go? The pavement is porous.
It's a great question. So, and I've got a great image to show this as well. So, when we're talking about porous pavements, there's different applications for it, but we're talking mostly in the roadway, for instance. So, that water would go, as it normally goes towards the curb, right? And then that water would just slowly infiltrate under this engineered top, the porous pavement, into the soil below it. And in that soil, we have means of capturing and storing a lot of that water there. And that water would be stored there. Some of it would be transferred to, the sewer if the sewer still has capacity, or potentially somewhere else where it just we've created storage for that water.
And it doesn't weaken the pavement at all?
No, this is an application that's being used in a number of different places, but yeah, I mean, it just, as long as, we're constructing it, we're engineering it in such a way that it doesn't fail that way. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
I can see it.
I feel great. Yeah.
Is there a tremendous amount of clogging? And what do you do about that clogging?
To the porous pavement or clogging
in the pipes, clogging in the system.
Yeah. And so, I mean, the pipes we're talking about the existing pipes in the system that we have today. Yeah, it's those pipes. There's some of them they may have some sediment, some debris at as part of it that gets oftentimes flushed when you have a big rain event. That gets moved, further downstream to a wastewater treatment plant. So most of those pipes they'll have a little bit of residual stuff in it, but a lot of it gets flushed out. And catch basins themselves, kind of like the ones that we're seeing here, those get cleaned out with some regularity, and DEP has a whole program around that.
What's some regularity?
Oh,
regularity, is that once a day, once a year, once every 10 years?
I think, and I don't know if somebody from DEP wants to chime in, but they assess them based on they go to them. I don't know if someone on the line can share, but it depends oftentimes on how much debris that we see within those catch basins. So if over time, if we don't see a whole lot that's there, then they're not going to be as they may not be maintained or cleaned out as often. So it really just depends on how much debris.
Yeah, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. But I mean, there's been catch basins that I've seen getting flooded. But, because I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, one call to Effie and they got cleaned out.
So we've got the right people in our corner here.
Yeah.
So that's good. Yeah.
And I wanted to mention a lot of catch basins that are in high pedestrian areas obviously need to be serviced more often. Also catch basins that we have along parkways during the fall, the leaves come down and mat over them, so they need to be more frequently cleaned. In addition, before heavy rainstorms, we know our problematic flooding locations, so we will come out right before storms, along with sanitation, to sweep litter off the streets and make sure they're clear and draining. So please always feel free to reach out to me if you have any concerns. Thank you, Deborah.
Yeah, I can vouch. I've seen DEP before. If it's in the forecast that it's gonna be a big rainstorm, I've seen DEP clearing the ones along Pelham Parkway.
Okay, Pelham Parkway is a big.
Well, I mean,
street.
right, but it's because of the leaves. That's a big problem issue. But I'm just saying, because I travel that road 4 times a day, I can totally vouch.
What I would say too is that, I mean, this is the feedback that's really important for us as well. Like, if are you hey, there's certain catch basins that, I've seen some issues. It'd be great to know which ones those are, because, as we're working on this project, which will touch many streets, in this area, that's something that, could potentially be addressed as part of this. So, if you want to write it down and address, it's outside, hey, it's outside my house, or that's the stuff that we want to know.
Yeah, something we should get out to the public too.
Yeah, I agree. There's a whole lot about this project, and I think that there's other aspects to hear more, like those issues around flooding, this catch base isn't really working. The more we can hear about that, the better. So
Okay, wait,
outside of this group, more, beyond
What
it.
number would one call if you had flooding in specific areas?
Say that once again?
What number would you
Tell them.
call?
Oh,
Phone number.
yeah, you can, there's a complaint you could do through 311.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, DEP number.
You
it gets directed, oh, go ahead, please.
Yeah, you could file a 311 complaint and share it with your community board, and they will reach out to the agency, to follow up on it. But we always recommend you call 311. I know some people get frustrated when they hear that, but it's really a good mechanism. We get to know our problematic locations that way. And it's also a good tracking system for you, the complainant, and us as the agency to follow through on them. So definitely call 311, always report them as you see the condition, and then share the complaint with your community board so they can follow up with the agency.
Right.
What's blue infrastructure?
Blue infrastructure, right, from the previous slide. So I don't know how far back that was.
Like 1 or 2 back?
Oh, yeah. So blue infrastructure are really larger areas where we have maybe the ability to have sort of we call like surface level detention with like basically the equivalent of ponds, right, where all this can get stored in one place. We'll see most of those examples, like we have these blue belt systems in Staten Island. So where there's a little bit more room.
Yeah,
It
I was
also,
gonna say, I don't see that in the Bronx. I
yeah.
see that in Westchester or Rockland.
Okay, right. Yeah, and it's largely governed by a number of different things, but also space is a big part of it too. So in parts of Queens as well. But here with sort of, densities and just as largely streets and maybe a couple open spaces, like open parks and such, it's just harder. So, yeah.
That's it. So we do have a mini blue belt in the botanical gardens, and it connects to the street outside, which used to have a lot of flooding. Right now, I'm forgetting the name of the road right outside the botanical.
It's
I'm sorry.
It's
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Debbie.
I'm on it twice a day.
Because it used to flood constantly. I know. It used to flood constantly, and this mini blue belt that we did really helped a lot over there at that location. So we do have one in the Bronx, definitely, that I know of. Sorry.
Okay, yeah. I'm glad to be corrected. So. But yeah, no, great question.
But there's no one that we generally see to the naked eye like some of the others.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Okay, let's see where I was. Okay, I was back to this slide. So sort of covered it a little bit in the previous slide that there's just 3 main mechanisms of sort of managing this rainwater. There's absorbing, so we talked about it, right? These rain gardens, or to the porous pavement that we talked about too. They're storing it. So these, it looks blue, it's blue rather, but this is below ground storage. So we have these chambers below ground. As another example, or transferring. So again, drains that would then take this water to a place where you can more effectively manage it. So these are the 3 main tools that we have as part of Cloudburst. This image I like a lot because it stitches all that together. It's a little small, but at least for us, right? So what we're showing here, oh, I don't have a mouse. Have I borrowed your mouse? Thanks. Okay. So, so on a rainy day, what would happen is that water, and this is kind of like the example I just talked about. It would rain, and that water, when it hits the ground here in the street, that water would then go off to the sides in this parking lane where we have this porous concrete. That would then infiltrate, right? And some of that would get stored, just directly below it. And then when there's excess amounts, that water would then get moved, directed, and this is the transferring part, to somewhere else where we've got more space, and more opportunity to manage. And this example is basically just an open space, like a playground, a park, for the subsurface storage. And so DEP has really looked kind of like around the city to see, where can we have the biggest opportunity to do this, and where's the biggest need. And so those areas were identified, and they're called Cloudburst hubs. Great. And so Parkchester Morris Park is one of those hubs. So we're here in this orange star. There are 4 of them in total. These are the first ones out. They're all fully funded, in design. We're all moving forward right now. And so these are the 4, and I'm going to talk to you now about this specific one.
Is this a pilot project? Like,
It's a great question. So there are other pilots that are currently underway largely in Queens right now, around in Jamaica, Queens, around the sort of southeastern part.
Mhm.
Yeah. And some of the lessons learned from that are now being applied to this program.
oh,
Yeah. All right. So, okay. I knew it was going to be a little small for at least on our side to see.
you can make it bigger with the double arrow over there, look down.
I'm going to mess
and
this up. This
over to
thing?
the right. Yep.
Okay.
Maximize shared content.
Right. Okay. It should that's important. Thank you. Yeah. So I can see the screen. There we go. Yeah. And so this project sort of encompasses this area here. So we have parts of Parkchester here, we have Morris Park up here. And basically this boundary for, again, what we're calling the Cloudburst hub is based largely on how stormwater naturally drains. So water that falls within this area is managed and, within this area. Water that falls outside of it is, gets managed elsewhere. And a lot of that water that's outside of this is managed through other DP projects. This hub boundary is also largely based off of, the amount of flooding that we've seen, through and heard of through the community as well. There's a number of different Cloudburst elements, kind of like I already talked about, stuff in the street, takes it out to a site. Most of the improvements will be in the streets. We've got a lot of streets here, obviously, and a lot of those streets see flooding. But some public sites have also been identified to also have larger scale improvements, like I showed in that other schematic, and those sites are here. So in addition to doing a lot of work within the streets themselves, we'll be working within these sites here. So we've got a couple, Castle Hill Playground, Caserta over here in Parkchester. Then here in Morris Park, we have PS 83. And so again, water from the area will be diverted, planned to be diverted to these sites to manage, because there's just more room here to help manage the stormwater. Go ahead.
So what are you gonna do like at PS 83?
Yeah, so, and it's kind of hard to see, this thing is blocking it, but actually,
That's on your.
oh, it is on that tab, sorry. That's before. Great. So, right, so these are the 3 different sites. We're just showing all of them for just awareness for the entire project. But here at 83, water is planned to come in from the adjacent road in. And what we're doing is siting based on, we have geotechnical information, meaning we have an understanding what the soil conditions are like below it. We've performed a survey, and then it's a matter of identifying how much of this space we can use for that subsurface storage. So
you're gonna tear it up?
So the areas so this area would be torn up. I'm trying to find the right word, but yes. And then, but part of the project.
Because that's a new playground.
Pardon?
That's a new playground.
Yeah, I mean, we've been in
Not brand new, but it's new.
We've been in coordination. We've been talking with DOE and CA and for the others with parks about, how to, about the opportunity and what can be done here. And also there could be potential improvements to the programming and what's at the surface as well as part of the project. So for all these sites, learning to hear from, if you have, some thoughts or, you have, of kids that go to school, thoughts of what potential improvements could be made at these different sites. But again, it's part of trying to minimize or reduce the amount of stormwater that we're seeing in city streets. It can't just be managed in the streets alone. A lot of it has to come to somewhere. And there are just very few locations that we can do that.
No, I understand. It's just that my daughter did go to that school, so I know when they had redid that playground was the year, like, right when she was graduating.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Playground.
they got a playground.
They had a little playground. Oh, yeah,
They
yeah,
had actually two
yeah.
playgrounds.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
I've never seen it. They come there all the time to vote.
go drive on the Rylander side.
Yeah.
No, go down the Rylander side. The Bogart side, you really don't see it much. Down the Rylander side.
Oh, I live
And-
on Rhinelander.
Yeah.
I'll have to look more carefully.
And so I know it's,
So
I mean, like I said, it's not brand new, but I know, because I was on the PTA back then,
Mm.
and we was helping try to get the funding to do that playground. So if you do tear it up, how are you gonna put it back?
I mean, it'll be put back. It's, you know, obviously that construction is largely all underground. It'll be resurfaced and then, you know, either if the school wants to maintain exactly this programming, the way that it looks today, that can be done. Or if there's some other improvements that they want as part of this, that's part of this project. So that's why we want.
It doesn't necessarily have to be on the playground though, because they have that whole huge field, not really a field, but that whole pavement area where the kids just play basketball.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's,
I would think that would be a better place, because you're not tearing anything up pavement and down the interior place.
You have a time limit on these projects,
yeah,
restoring it? You have time limits on this?
it's still really early. We're just starting. You know, but that consideration will also, that'll be a major consideration, I would say, for staging it, phasing some of this work. You know,
Are you doing outreach with the school itself?
yes, we are. Yeah, yeah.
Because I know that the teachers are awesome. And I don't know which teachers were more or less spearheading it, but there were, I know it had to be like the social studies teachers. Because the whole time my daughter was there, I was fighting for a stop sign. Just an example,
Okay.
fighting for a stop sign. Those teachers were amazing that got the kids together and with their social, the social studies project and whatnot, they finally got the stop sign because it was a community effort
Mhm.
and they showed the great need there. So the teachers are awesome. So I would totally suggest, reaching out with the school to, I mean, if you're gonna change the playground, find out what the current need is. It may not be what it was when that one was put, but
Right.
yeah, no, that school is awesome with that outreach.
We hope to get a lot of participation. We're trying to schedule events that are also potentially there. So, so they'll definitely be part of it. Yeah. I mean, that's really what we're looking for, especially if we're going to be, touching this space. It's important to get that feedback. So, yeah, but so that's the current plan, right? And we do mention kind of like here, I didn't even touch on this, but I guess I did. The features above ground, while the stormwater management is largely below ground, we want community feedback for all this space that's on top. So, again, okay.
No, I was just also wondering why you picked the lines the way.
Why it looks a little wonky the way it is.
Yes.
I mean, it's largely based off of, where the water drains from. So sometimes it's not quite just exactly elegant straight lines. The water comes in from some other places into this area. And so that's why it's not.
Because I see like the bottom of Lidic Hill is not on there.
Mm.
The bottom of Neil Hill is not on there. And I know when it rains, those areas get flooded.
Yeah, I mean, it's really a combination of when we first looked into the site. Oh, sorry, 1 second. Still, what I'm doing here. I'm not set in stone, right? Yes. Sorry. I'm not doing this right. Okay, yeah, I'm not the best. So, yeah, and it's largely based off of where we saw, the amount of flooding. There's flooding, again, citywide, and extending it out to certain, to certain areas outside of this, there isn't an ability perhaps in some ways to bring it to a place where you can manage it better. So again, it's all about how to, manage this water if there may not have been as easy a way to bring in other parts and manage that stormwater as part of this project. So there are other initiatives that are being done outside of this area by DEP to help manage stormwater. This is a just specific cloudburst project. So, and this is the area that's been identified for it. Yeah. Okay. Great question though. Okay, so the design and construction timeline, maybe a little bit to your question, right?
Yes.
So we're starting, we're here in design right now. You know, procurement is starting late 2025, and then construction itself is still some time away. So we're talking late 26 to early 28. And I'll just flip to the next one, which is more or less the same. So that's why, as part of this design phase, or rather this phase of the project, this is really when we want to be able to get input on, you know, what these sites could look like, you know, the programming, you know, at these different park and school sites, hearing about, you know, where flooding is experienced, you know, on the streets. So that's the kind of input we want to understand and hear from this group and others at this phase of the project. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I probably covered a lot of this already, but our main goals for outreach is firstly to, you know, inform this community here, just the community that we're working with, about this Cloudburst project, and provide an opportunity for you all and others to just share input. You know, what do you want to see, or what are you interested in seeing as part of this? Where do you experience these issues? The second one is educating communities, because you know, this Cloudburst project is intended to address some of the issues we see with street flooding, but you know, we can manage as much as we can, hopefully, but there's still going to be some residual risk. It's hard to remove all of the stormwater and all of this, you know, of the rainwater that we see, especially under very, very, very large events. There's always going to be a little bit of residual risk. Last but not least is starting with this discussion here is, you know, creating these relationships with yourselves to make sure that, hey, it doesn't just start here with this Cloudburst project, but there are going to be other projects moving forward, and just having this relationship, you know, moving forward with DEP, so that, you know, as new improvements, other needs come up from the community, that there's this channel for that.
Do you have a chain of command that you can send us?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I'm a consultant to DEP on this project. You know, and I think that we'll provide you with a point of contact. I'm happy to be part of that, but I mean, I know that DEP would like to hear if we can provide you with a point. Effie has been, I think, a really good champion for the community. So sorry, I'm always looking back at you. Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
It's okay. You know, and I think that that's a great avenue. And if there's more needs or other questions, we're happy to figure it out. Yeah, I'll provide you with my own as well.
I would say, like, from a community board perspective, I think I could speak for us when I say, like, our main priority would be like minimal disruption, especially if you're talking about doing construction at a school.
Yeah.
You know, like, we don't want the children to be affected by construction. I mean, there's already construction happening at that school right now. I don't know what they're doing, but they're doing whatever they're doing, which is bad enough. But if you're talking about, like, literally digging up the ground around them, like, that should happen during the summer and be resolved by the time they go back to school.
Yeah, that is a major consideration. We've been talking about the same. So, yeah, and you know, I know this also holds true a little bit for the parks. There was a question once about, are you going to work on all the parks at once? Because we kind of still need a park to go to. So there's going to be some level of phasing of that, and definitely around the school year is going to be important. So.
And I know you said the construction would be like late 26 to early 28, which is taking all of 2027. The construction part, is it gonna really take that long?
It's the city.
It's also just a lot of streets as well, because it's not just at those sites. If it was at those sites, it certainly wouldn't be nearly as long, but there's a lot of work within the streets. So both in this area as well as Parkchester. So,
So when you're saying that timeline, you're talking about all those locations, not just.
It's those 3 locations, and then the streets that we're going to be working on. Let me go back just so we can look at it.
The streets that are feeding into it?
Feeding into it. There's there are other improvements all around. You know, there's different ways of managing it. Some of that
So
is
it's
going,
not, so it's not necessarily that timeline at 83.
oh, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I was
Okay,
like,
no,
wait a
but
minute,
it's-
what?
Yeah, good question. No, and so, right, there's, yeah, we're gonna do it as best as possible to keep within the summer timeline.
Yeah.
Yeah, our construction. Okay. Where was I? Good. So almost there, I think. This is the last major slide. So, getting down to it in terms of our outreach and, when you hear back from the community, we've identified some, some milestones here. The first part is, what we call community listening, just to hear from the community, the issues, and hearing as well as some feedback for potential things to consider at these spaces, the three that we just talked about. I'll just walk through the chevrons or the arrows. Then there's visioning, which is, later on this summer. This is what we think that could be done in these different spaces and what we think which streets might be affected, for instance. And then we'll have other aspects of later on, early phase design, final design, and so on. But we're here holding a committee board meeting, so this is really one part of it. We're also meeting with Morris Park BID as well next week, Monday, I believe. And again, we're just hoping to identify ways and hear from you all for how to spread this information about the project, how we can share information about upcoming events, hopefully at a school, for instance, right? And other opportunities to provide feedback. We've got flyers, got a bunch of flyers here, but flyers aren't going to probably cut it by themselves. So, want to hear from the group of, hey, have you reached out to such and such organization? Or if there's some, some businesses that we really should connect with, or, what have you. That's what we're looking for so that we can do that outreach, get the word out. Because we have events coming up. One's going to be here, one's going to be in Parkchester, and sometime in early to mid-May. So it's coming up.
The water that's stored,
Yes.
like under the playground, how is that usable?
Mhm.
Is it something like, it's like up in Westchester, they got well water and stuff like that. Is that something that, say, PS 83 has a couple of gardens? Would they be able to, is there some way they'd be able to access that water to water their gardens?
Yeah, I think that, and the reuse of water is definitely a great idea and such a great learning experience for kids as well, for the school. It's something that we could talk with parks, not parks, with the school about as a potential opportunity. Yeah. For the most part, it's, if possible, most of it will infiltrate into the native soil. And then some of it will also go back to the sewer after the big rain event when it has capacity again. It'll just, slowly move out. So, but yeah, that sounds like a great idea. It's something we'll bring up.
Yeah, because I know it's like, for houses, they do these rainbow giveaways,
That's right.
but, here you got the rainwater that the kids can use to feed their gardens that they're learning to grow.
Yeah, that's a good point. Irrigation is be nice to do if we can. So we'll bring it up with the school as well. So yeah, and others I bet will probably also have a similar, if we get that feedback from others, it'll be good to hear. So yeah.
So just,
Sorry, go ahead.
so just to be clear, what you're talking about is installing large storage pipes or whatever, containers,
With large tubes.
like
Yeah.
large
or
tubes underneath the school or underneath the
that
yard.
open
area.
space.
Yeah, yard area.
How do you communicate with the businesses, the stores, the bids? How do you communicate and the schools to let them know exactly what's happening and when it should happen?
Yeah, great question. So we do have our first call with Morris Park Ave, the bid that's on the businesses on Monday. And and that's going to be part of that outreach, and they'll probably have some suggestions as well for how to get the word out. But we plan on having physical events where the public can engage, learn more about it, a little bit of what I've talked about here, but also have it informational and fun as well, especially if we're gonna have them at school, and have that. And that's where we're hoping to hear back from the community. And we're gonna have a few of these. So, but we do need to make sure that they know that we are going to have the events. So that's going to be important. So some of that starts here, and happy to hear like, hey, you should really talk to such and such. They're going to help
We
you for
need
it.
direct contact, especially with the schools, with the bids and organizations, large organizations. Here you got Morris Park Association and Van Ness in that area, but it's going to be important. And do they have a role to play in this?
Through the feedback, for sure. And just to let us know, I mean, we have some, we have our, our estimates of where, an understanding of where flooding is, based on our own analyses. Like, okay, we see flooding in these parts. It'd be great to hear, it's like, actually, it's not only there, it's in these other places. We see it all the time on these big storms.
Sure.
To hear that would be really informative. And then also like, just to hear, as it relates to some of the open spaces, or, make sure that, don't touch parking, in this area, or, make sure like, we like our trees, or things like that, like we need to just hear some feedback, as well as what the opportunities are. Like, would love to, don't take away my basketball court, keep that soccer thing. So that's the kind of things we need to hear.
Yeah.
So, and also just the education, like, hey, these are the type of storms that we're seeing. Like, we want to, let people know it's like, they're happening more frequently. These are big storms, and we're not going to be able to handle like the mammoth storms, but we're trying to do as much as we can. And just to let them know, like, these are the types of things that we're instituting. And for private homeowners, like, hey, there's even a role in this for you. Like, just for you to understand. It's like, the more that we pave over lawns, it's like, it's just a lot of that water just ends up back in the street into our sewers. It's tough. So it's a great way of just engaging overall and just learning more about this.
Like
tremendous
Staten
amount.
Island before Hurricane Sandy, you had these beachfront houses, then they got that all wiped out. So then the city was basically reclaiming that back so that they could make the marshlands back again.
Yeah.
Because you need a natural buffer.
That's right. Yeah. And we're removing too many of them, unfortunately. So yeah.
Are you planning to meet with, I know you said you're meeting with the Morris Park bid, you've been talking to DOE, but I've been talking to like the school itself, like the parents, the teachers.
I know that we've been
Talking to DOE, that's like high level, that's not the people who are actually going to be affected.
Yeah, I know that we just started those discussions.
Okay.
So I haven't talked to a parent yet myself, or actually, well, a former parent. But I haven't spoken to any myself yet.
Soon to be.
Yeah, my kid might go there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so then you should definitely weigh in.
She's willing to,
So-
but
Okay, well, mine too. So.
she'll get there eventually.
Maybe on our end, we do need to have a community meeting. And invite these homeowners and invite the school people, and because everybody should know what's going on.
Yeah.
And if they can be helpful, that's even more important. But maybe the community board should step in and work with you guys and maybe get our communities to meet. It'll take more than one meeting because there's different interests in different parts, but
Yeah, don't we still have that requirement where we need to do public hearings once a month? So this might be a good one to add to the mix.
Dwayne's a committee member. He raised his hand.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yes, hi, good afternoon. I just had two questions. In your selection process, did you already perform a boring sample? And if so, did the soil composition indicate that it could support the capacity you're proposing to install in this area?
Yeah, there was a boring program, so to hold geotechnical investigations for the entire area. And so we received that. We're still in the early phases of evaluating it. And it's largely for, can we infiltrate water into the soil below? But it's part of the process to look at that information to, inform our design. So, but yeah, it's been performed. I think it just wrapped up, or rather we just received the information. So we're analyzing that now as part of our work.
Okay, so you're still analyzing. So it's possible that this site may not be conducive to what you want to do until you complete that analysis. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's a matter of evaluating to see like if there are some significant limitations, if we can design to those limitations still, or if not, for some reason, then it may need to be reconsidered. But yeah, so it's still at the really beginning phase of that. But great, it's a great question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any more slides or?
Oh,
Right,
I mean, this is the wrap-up slide. It's just, get everybody involved. We do have a newsletter that everybody here can sign up for to learn more. Oh, there's nothing. To learn more about the project. Okay, great. Yeah, it's really just hoping that we can educate other members of the community about flooding and just to, what we're trying to do with DEP here to, help address it. And really want people to attend the upcoming events. So that's going to be,
Okay.
that's going to be important.
We got Camilla from the bid.
Oh, okay. Great.
Camilla, you had a question?
I had some input, if that's okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, and thank you, Parks Committee of CB11 for hosting this presentation, and thank you, DP team, for coming over to inform us early in the process. I have about 4 points. One, please reach out as soon as possible to PS and reaching out for the principal. They of course need to know as soon as possible that this will happen there. They are 1 block away from the bid office. Please consider the bid as a resource to support you in the outreach. In your area that you designated, about 8 blocks out of my 23 blocks are the bid district, so it is highly relevant. Flooding is a chronic issue on Morris Park Avenue. I will show you pictures and news reports. Effie knows very well. We had a major issue last summer. I literally had businesses that moved out of the district because they couldn't anymore use their basements due to the regularity of flooding. So we are really appreciative that you guys are considering this area for one of these projects. One suggestion, please consider having that outreach event in the context of the school. They have towards the end of the school year, parents events, etc. It's very important for those families to understand kind of the time frame and what will happen there. As Deb pointed out, it will affect the kind of the day-to-day of the children. And my most important probably issue to point out here that didn't come out in the presentation is your connection to the Parks Department, because respectfully, a lot more things there are parks even immediately within the area that you pointed out, Loreto and Matthew Molinar, that could be planted and taken care of much better than they currently are, because absorption capacity of the plants is not to be under consider. Obviously, you're doing those rain gardens is exactly the same concept. There are already existing green spaces that are not used not sufficiently at capacity. And just to be very practical and to give you an example from my real life, for the past 4 weeks, I've been in touch, and Jeremy knows this, with the Parks Department trying to find the proper forestry person. I have a tree in a planter that we had as a backup tree for holiday, like a Christmas tree type, an evergreen, that I'm trying to donate to one of the local parks. Good luck obtaining an answer from the forestry department at parks, like with the bid paying for all the costs involved, just to tell me a site where I could put this little tree to grow and serve in the future. So the contrast between what you guys are trying to do to increase absorption capacity and how unresponsive the Parks Department could be. We are trying to donate like assets, plants, etc. I'm having an event with them on Saturday where we are going to Matthew Molinar and we are planting plants, but the forestry department of parks could do better in assisting and being complementary with what DP is doing. On my end, I look forward to the meeting on Monday that we already have scheduled, but just want to thank you again for considering Morris Park Avenue. This is a significant problem, and also to ask the community board, if possible, to more often post information such as DP has great images with showing people how to clean, clean their own catchment basins at the side of the street, etc., etc., we could post those maybe more often or together. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you. Yeah, that was great.
5 minutes. Thank you.
She meant it's supposed to be lighting, but like I was saying, because the way you have that line is missing a lot of the areas that other areas that do have a lot of flooding too.
Okay, yeah.
You know, so you know, how do you get some of these other areas that we also know that have flooding into your zone?
Yeah, and this is, I mean, you know, again, this is a cloudburst, one cloudburst project. We know of other projects that are tackling some of those, you know, stormwater management issues and these challenges around flooding, you know, outside of this area. You know, this it had to end at some point, and so based off of, you know, what could be managed effectively, that was the arrangement during the meeting, showing that boundary. Outside of it, there are other projects. It's just not this specific one. That's all. So, I mean, there are certainly other blocks, other streets that have, you know, also challenges. But it's, you know, at some point, if you extend too far out, it's just not as effective in managing it the way that we need to as part of this project. So I hope that helps.
Okay, let me see. Roxanne, you got your hand raised?
Just a brief question. I want to follow up what Mr. Williams' question was, Mr. Wayne Williams. I'm not sure, and excuse my ignorance, but is this, if you're going to put this underground of this site, doesn't it risk the foundation? And what if will you be gauging the speed of what you're redirecting? Am I correct there? Am I making sense here?
So, I mean, okay, yeah, I mean, firstly, so there's the question of whether it can, if it's stable. You know, this is all engineered, you know, soils and, you know, the structures that we're using are going to be all engineered so that you don't have settlements as part of the issue. I mean, sometimes that you'll see that in streets and potholes and such, but this is all engineered soil. This is all very specific to be able to manage these loads, as well as the loads of the water that's going to be as part of it. So that's already going to be taken into consideration as part of the design. And I forget if there was one more part to the question. Maybe I missed it.
Well,
basically,
manual, sorry, can you close or open it at will?
Okay, sorry, one more time.
Repeat.
I said, will you be able to close and open it at will? Or when it overcapacity just shuts down?
Oh no, so it's all directed, it all comes into these storage tanks. They have a small outlet as well, you know, to be able to redirect that back out to the sewer. And then it won't ever go beyond capacity the way it's designed. So it won't ever sort of surcharge, if you will. It's all going to be part of the design.
So then it's going to be extremely deep then. How deep will it be?
It depends on a number of different factors of sort of how much water is coming in, you know, how the distance from the pipes that are coming in, the pipes coming out. It's almost better if I could show it or draw it, but some of them can be, you know, just a few feet. Some can be, you know, 8 feet deep. You know, it all depends. And we're still really early. We haven't quite established that just yet. And part of it also depends on how much water we need to bring in to manage. That has a bearing on, you know, how wide and how tall it is. So it's a great question, and it's something that we're hoping to figure out the next few weeks.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
So I was worried about the foundation of it, with the water spilling out of it, because it was built in 1923. That's an old school.
Oh, okay, yeah, and the water isn't expected to sort of to weep out all through the sides. A lot of it, if there is infiltration, that's one of the reasons too. We need to make sure that there is adequate infiltration for that water to go down. So, you know, if there is that, great. If not, we can still engineer it so that it doesn't even infiltrate and it's just stored with a small connection to the sewer to allow that to go out. Again, when all the rain passes. So
Is this the first initiative? Are we the, I don't know, sounding board?
I knew that was gonna come. No, I mean, there are others that have started before. And as I mentioned, there's the ones in Southeast Queens that are still ongoing. And that's where, again, a lot of the lessons learned from that are being applied here. So
we're the second team.
Quite second, but there has been a lot that's learned. And some of these are actually already tried and true practices. It's just being combined in a certain way. That's all. A lot of these storage tanks that we're calling, these chambers, they're in a lot of places already citywide without issue. So this is just applying how to bring all these things together. A lot of these already exist by themselves in different parts of the city.
But this sounds like the first one of this
At
magnitude.
the scale, yeah, because the flooding challenges are also rather extensive. So, if you're trying to just solve at one little location, then you might just have one of these tools. But here we're trying to solve a much bigger area, and you need to bring some of that to a place where you can manage it. So it really requires using all these different tools. That's why. So because there's a lot of flooding, so we're trying to address it.
I'm glad you said there's a lot of flooding. What made, and I'm glad you're doing something to fix our flooding, but what made you choose our area versus flooding in CB10 or flooding in CB12?
That's also a very good question. There's a lot of considerations take into place. The severity of the issues, right? The opportunities where maybe some of these areas, and I don't know too much about, the parks and open spaces where you can work with. Some of them may not have had the ability to do that there. Also depends on, water drains from higher elevation to down. And so it's a matter of looking at all these different things and saying, all right, it will work best here in this area. And there are many more to come after these first 4, right? There's 2 in Queens, 1 here, 1 in Brooklyn. There are more to come as well. So I don't know if CB10 is part of it, to be frank, but there are many other places as well. But these are the first 4.
Or like when my daughter was talking with you, she works in CB12.
Oh,
She can give you a whole laundry list of floodings over in that area.
I'm sure. I can't wait till they go to my mom's neighborhood in Elmhurst, Queens. So, but yeah, there's go ahead.
Community Board 12. I think that was one of the initial places when Mikhail Adgate first started in our agency before she moved on to EDC. We went over to that community board, and I think when green infrastructure started at DP, I'm not sure how many years ago, that was one of the places we started it over there. In CB12. So there's definitely a lot of other green infrastructure projects that have been going on throughout the years in conjunction also with New York City Housing Authority, schools and other entities. So
yeah, it's a really great point, which I didn't bring up before, is that there are a lot of these projects, like I said, brought a little bit all over the city, and they just take different forms. So there are a lot of green infrastructure projects. A lot of this information is out in the public. You can see where all this exists. And they are spread all over. These are just the first where you're combining all these different types. That's all.
Okay.
Hillary?
Great.
Are we ready for the galleries?
So can I ask a quick question?
Okay.
Isn't this the first underground one though? Underground storage?
Oh, no, there's plenty of these. We work on these kind of all over the city.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure. So I know that you have other business. Oh, go ahead.
Gallery.
So I have a list of questions. I'm from more the Bronx Park East area.
Okay.
And you did the bioswales throughout the area. Some of these questions might be also more for DEP. We have some of the curbside rain gardens.
Yes.
And the questions about those are, they tend to attract rats. Rats love to dig in the little soil there. And people don't quite know what to do about that. And the plantings in them, are those done by the city or should people be taking over now And are there specific kinds of plants that should be going there? And then I know that the Parks Department is doing the drainage for basketball courts, sort of one by one, all over. They're resurfacing and sometimes putting in the storage tanks underneath. I wanted to ask about schools because our local school, PS 96, it's an election site, and during the last election, when it rained so hard all day, the entrance for the voters was through the schoolyard, paved over schoolyard. And by 5 o'clock, the schoolyard was one big puddle, and the streets on a slight incline. The gate that you had to go through to get into the schoolyard, there was a stream of water coming out of the gate, running down the sidewalk. So we had to like close that entrance and find another entrance, set up another entrance for people to go in. But is there something that if the schools are suffering this kind of event now with the really heavy storms, is there a program? What do they do about getting drainage in their schoolyards?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the dialogue has already been started with DEP. I apologize, I don't know for 96 in particular, but yeah. But that's usually the first line where it's reaching out to DEP. And just to see if there's an opportunity that's there, because DEP is, has been exploring opportunities, similar to this. There has been a lot of work at different schools. We've worked at different schools as well to do just that, to help manage some of the stormwater, to relieve so you don't have that level of flooding. But it's usually just reaching out to DEP as part of that. And so I don't know if it's happened yet. I apologize.
And then the one other question was, during the Pelham Parkway reconstruction project, and this is also for DEP, they did a lot of work around White Plains Road, Pelham Parkway North, where there was always a lot of flooding in the intersection and especially the crosswalks. But they were limited in how many catch basins they could put in because of the amount of infrastructure underneath the roadway and alongside the curb. The gas lines, the electric, and the Boston Road comes downhill for quite a stretch. So when it rains, there's always a heavy stream of water coming down from like Astor Place down to Pelham Parkway North. But it seemed like there was nowhere they could add a catch basin higher up to deal with the water. So I don't know, maybe that's something to live with. And then throughout the neighborhood, there are a lot of buildings where the yard has been paved, the driveway has been paved, the driveway is sloped down to the back. For the new buildings, people have added paved parking lots behind the buildings, and adding that much pavement is just not a great idea. But I don't know if there's like any kind of regulations about this, or because it does lead to basement flooding. I think Roxanne pointed out that there's basement flooding in heavy
No, I'm
rains.
sorry, please don't mention my name and pass misinformation. That's out of order.
Okay.
Well, I don't know, we're going far afield here, I think.
Yeah.
Well, it's all part of the same
With
flooding.
It's hard to understand.
With the sewers,
Yeah.
why are they limited in the amount of sewers they could put? Because I saw when they redid stuff on the Hutchinson River Parkway, there's a stretch in Mount Vernon. It's before exit 6, which is old exit 13, going, I think it's in both directions, but I noticed it going northbound. There's like at least 10 sewers in what you would think is a block. It's like it's like boom, 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 boom.
Okay.
So why couldn't on Pelham Parkway, why couldn't they put a series, especially in known flooding areas like Jacoby? There's been widespread video of the 12 bus going through.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
The time to do that would have been when they had all that construction.
Right,
But
but that's what I'm saying, why couldn't they put more sewers?
should have, you know, while they had the ground open.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
There.
So did,
Oh, sorry.
sorry.
yeah.
did DEP have any answers to any of the questions that I had?
He's trying to answer it.
I apologize, I overspeak as well, because I'm here, I suppose, but if anybody from DP wants to weigh in.
Anybody from the
Um,
DP corner?
Hello. Hi. Regarding the rat question, if there's a particular location that you know of that has rats problem, we're happy to take that information from you, or you can call 311 and report that, and we can see what needs to be done. Sometimes we put out rat baits to put out those rats. And regarding the planting species, we'll have to look at which rain garden address that is, if it is still being maintained by the contractor. If not, it's being maintained by the DEP team. And we're happy if you want to maintain those plants as well.
Okay, one of the questions asked was about the drainage in the Pelham Parkway area.
Pelham Parkway area, that I'm not too familiar with. I'm from the Green Infrastructure office, so maybe someone from BPAC can answer that.
I
Anybody
would
from
recommend,
Tony's from DP. Go ahead, sorry.
recommend if you have any issues, please share them with the community board. Please share them with the community board and they can follow up with us. All complaints like this, please report them with 311. We are responsible for maintaining the rain gardens, more or less. So we do ask that you report it with 311, send the location, send your complaint to the community board, and they can follow up with the agency. All of these complaints. If there's flooding issues, Pelham Parkway, major investments were done there by DP, DOT. I have not really received a lot of flooding complaints since this second phase of the project. But if you're experiencing any kind of issues, please report them and follow up with us, with your community board.
I like, I live on Astor Avenue, and since the reconstruction phase 2, there's been minimal flooding, so I'm not sure why someone's making past information. We don't have any flooding Astor Avenue, nor do we have a Pelham Park North. We do have some issues on White Plains Road. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Debbie, did you speak on flooding over by Jacoby?
Well, no, like she said, since they've been doing, since the reconstruction, I was just wondering why they didn't put like more drainage.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
But yeah, between the second phase being done and with them keeping up ahead of certain storms that they send out a cleaning crew.
Anything else? Any other questions? Concerns? Nope. Okay.
Well, for one, thank you for this presentation, because I've learned a lot. Just listening here and understanding. And I think most of us are going to be on the lookout for that.
Great.
But one of our major points is that we want to make sure everybody's notified, that the schools are notified, that everybody's cooperating. And if they're not cooperating, to come back to the community board and have the community board reach out to the schools to make sure this job gets done and done right.
That's fair.
So
I appreciate that.
Like I said, school itself, not DEC, or what do they call it? Not
DOE?
Yeah, not DOE. I mean, I'm not saying don't work.
Of
with
course,
schools, but
I know, I mean, what you mean.
Don't work with the high ups, work with the locals.
yeah, I mean, work with both.
It's really both.
I'm saying just don't exclude the school itself because they might not necessarily be getting all the information.
The newsletter, would be great to, you know.
Yeah, this is something to share with this group, and the newsletter is something to, you sign up for it, and then you get updates. Yeah, please, these are all for you. There should be maybe 25 of them there, and to share with others too. And if you want to leave it here for your next meeting to or be in next group, here with others.
Pretty good idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, please do.
Somebody from DP, I know you're more with the cloudburst stuff. When they put these rain gardens or whatever you want to call all those different ones in front of somebody's house, who is really in charge of maintaining those? DP
Hello.
supposed to be maintaining?
Usually, the contractor will maintain it for 1 year in their guarantee period, and then it'll be handed over to DEP for maintenance.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
That's what he said. She said.
It's the handoff, so they have it for a 1-year warranty, and then it's DP takes over for the maintenance.
Okay.
Are we good?
Crews that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Amy, we have special crews that are hired just to maintain these rain gardens, correct?
Correct. Yeah, we have a maintenance team. Tony and Adriana are closer to the issue too, so Tony can comment on any specifics. But yeah, there's a maintenance team that's dedicated to taking care of the rain gardens.
We're responsible for making sure they're clean. We're responsible for the plantings. I'm talking after that 1 year from the contractor. That's why also with those, it's important to report any conditions that you're noticing so we can be made aware of that and address it.
Including garbage in it?
Yes.
Yep, 311 really works. We usually get the complaint and we'll adjust it, within a couple of days.
Okay, anything else on this? No? Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Great speaking with you all. This will be the last time.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, they pick the
I
right
guess
person
you
to
did
send
punch
to you
it.
anyway.
I can, oh, shit, yeah. Sorry. Yes, let me see if we can figure that out.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes.
You're very
All right.
informative.
Yeah, thank you all. We will meet again.
Thank
Okay,
you.
hold on a second. Don't
Oh.
rush. Yeah, I
Wait.
see. Grace, I just saw your hand raised because now I got the screen again.
Oh.
Grace, did you have a question?
Yes, I was concerned when he mentioned engineered soil. What does that mean and what is in this engineered soil? Is it carcinogenic? Is it harmful to animals and plants? What exactly does engineered soil mean? What does that mean?
Sure. Yeah, no, it's just there's different types of clean soil that we need to use to be able to, like, sometimes the native soil that you have at these sites isn't really appropriate to allow for the right level of infiltration. So there's certain types of soil mixes that are available, usually used for all different types of construction, but we have to be very selective for these practices of what's used, including, of different size, different sieves that are used as part of these projects. It's nothing carcinogenic. For sure, we wouldn't be doing that. These are all very clean fill. It's required for the project. But yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Another hand up?
Was it Roxanne? Roxanne, is your hand stuck?
Hi,
Oh.
hi there. So sorry, I have to go to work soon because I hope we can address the letter that I sent. But I have to say, Grace asked a great question because the soil in the Bronx is very compact and mixed with a lot of trash. So that was a good question regarding the soil.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's a great question.
all right.
All right, so. Morning now.
Someone's hand still up?
Yeah, that was Roxanne. That was Roxanne.
It's just that I have to go to work and I just want to make a quick gallery session. That's what I'm waiting for because I'm half hour late for my lunch break.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so is there something you wanted to bring up now in the gallery? Because we're about to close out. Roxanne?
Thank you so much. Thank you, Parks Committee, for allowing me to speak, and I'll definitely respect your time as well as my own time. There was a recent meeting with Parks Committee on Tuesday at the Bronx House, and there was some very concerning remarks that they made. One fact that they had to merge two different projects in Pelham Parkway, the water fountains and the reconstruction phase 2, which is basically the repaving and widening the pathway on the Greenway on the north side. It was quite what was quite interesting was like the commissioner herself said they had to merge these projects so they could use the same contractor and not to disrupt the area twice. Yeah, when it came to Zimmerman Playground, they actually said that they didn't want to merge the project because they were going to use different contractors and they didn't want to waste time. So it's funny how Parks does one thing for one project, but a whole totally different another thing for another project. Now I sent you a letter that was signed by most of the Northeast community groups that deal with Pelham Parkway. And to give you an update on this project, Parks is going to put the two water fountains that we won through participant budgeting on Wallace and on the White Plains Road, Pelham Parkway North. Second, they will. And thanks to our effort, thankfully, we don't listen to people who don't live in this community who were adamant to support the initial proposal. Thanks to us as a whole, the community, the residents, and the community board, now somehow Parks found money somewhere to actually repay from Wallace Avenue to Stillwell, which is a great thing because it made no sense to pay one piece of the Greenway and leave the other remaining side of the Greenway unpaved. It didn't make sense to do that. So this is what happens when we stick together and we advocate for our community. But the main concern I have, and I'm not expecting you to make any decision today because I'm hoping we have a public hearing and let the community that actually resides in Pelham Parkway and actually is invested in Pelham Parkway, not people outside the community. To address the issue with widening the pathway, because we have in the Bronx House, many residents expressed concern again that what was the purpose of that, and they expressed concern about e-scooter, and the Parks Department said they didn't know there was problems with illegal vehicles using the Greenway, like mopeds, motorcycles. They said that this was the first time they heard of this, which is surprising. And then second, later on, they said it's a citywide issue that they're still trying to figure out how to address. So first of all, they said we don't know about it. Then they say we know it's a citywide problem, but we're still trying to figure out how to address it. So I hope you have time to look at my letter. I don't expect you to vote on it today. And I thank you for your time, for listening to me on this update. And I'm speaking as the founder of Friends of Pelham Parkway, who's been founded for over 7 years now, caring for the Parkway. We're very involved in the Parkway. Our community and residents and volunteers are very involved with this group. And I hope you at least give us some courtesy to have some input on this. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you, Roxanne. I see, Camilla, you raised your hand again.
Yes, this DP thing kind of came out of surprise, but I meant to take space in gallery. Thank you, Deb. So I have one new project announcement, 3 events, and one suggestion in terms of budget. One new project I mentioned today in the district cabinet session. So Maurice Park Bid has a grant from SBS, a lighting grant for an arts project, and we just obtained permit from Parks to install. It will be a large light installation on the big fence at Maurice Park Avenue between Hyde and Tomlinson. We will send tomorrow a summary so that you guys have something in writing. It will be installed with DEP and CONED already obtained approvals around mid to end of May. The project will be in place for 6 months to begin with, possibly extended to a year. It's a chain of light, sort of say. It's a heart in the middle with 2 kind of DNA like lateral chains. We hope it will be a beautiful thing. It will be able to change colors kind of according to the time of the year, a special occasion. So we hope it will be a positive addition to the neighborhood. I will also announce it in full board at the meeting this month. So this was the first new project. We have 3 events coming up. We have this Saturday, cleanup and planting at Matthew Moliner. We have following Sunday, so this it's April April 13. Then following Sunday, April 21st, in honor of Earth Day, we obtained a permit for Loreto Park. It will be a display of various environmental and health wellness kind of tabling organizations, no vending whatsoever, just information, interacting with the children, etc., etc. And then last one, it's a new thing. I'm very happy to announce that in collaboration with the Bronx Borough President, in relation to the May Bronx Week, Loreto Park will be hosting the Silent Disco event. It's a very cool event that usually they were doing at Woodlawn, but this year they will do at Loreto Park, and we hope that the community will enjoy it. Finally, just wanted to make a suggestion to the Parks Committee in terms of your budget asks for next year. Kind of the middle area at Loreto Park. So the area, not the playground, not the field, the middle area where the old equipment is located. The lower surface looks in very, very bad shape. I don't know when it was done last time. I would guess more than 20 years ago. This would be a very important budget ask. Loreto Park looks very nice on the Van Ness side, on the Morris Park side, but the area right in the middle looks terrible. So if you guys would consider to add this as a budget request from the Parks Committee, we would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Can we please, did you put this in writing? Because it all sounds interesting. It sounds like something to be involved with, but I'd like to see it in writing.
You mean the budget request?
I mean,
yes,
all the
The light
items.
installation, I have a summary that I will send tomorrow to Jeremy to circulate and be available to the board. Yes.
Okay, fine, thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask you a quick question? What's a silent disco?
Sure, sure.
I can explain that one to her offline.
Yeah.
I'm gonna explain that to her offline because
it's just music playing and people just listen to it on their headphones and dance. So it's kind of a cool event.
Okay, I think we're.
All right, so
any old business? I'm still shooting for mine. Old business in
Zimmerman.
I'm still shooting for the renovation of the park house. Councilman Riley, Senator Bailey, and the Powell have pooled their resources. Have pooled their resources. Okay. Zimmerman Playground, the park house has been closed for almost 8 years. Haven't been able to. You heard what I said. And I've been talking to the Parks Department for through different commissioners, okay, to have it restored. There's water leaks, asbestos, mold. So what they have to do is renovate the whole thing or tear it up. So, okay, go ahead. Answer your question.
One, what happened to, remember, Congresswoman AOC had put in some money for Zimmerman? What happened to that? No,
she didn't.
No, she had put in some kind of like, I don't remember what it was, like a request, some kind of federal thing. And Zimmerman Playground was specifically mentioned in there.
Check that out.
Yeah, I'll check it out. Like 2 years ago. I'll go back.
Check that out.
Second thing,
You have something to share?
I'm gonna go to bed.
Hold on, I gotta get early enough on
I know, so do I. I got about too. I get it.
it.
Second thing, this Zimmerman thing, I feel like it's just been going on forever. Have we ever considered going to the news?
No.
We should talk about that.
Okay.
Because
Because
seriously, like nobody else is listening. Like
No, but he's allocating the money.
yeah, but they've been saying that for years. I'm
No,
sorry.
what happened was, it was in Oswald Phillies district. And when they got together the plan to renovate the playground, they were going to do the comfort station too.
It's not just the conference,
But,
it's not just the.
well, that whole house, right, but the redistricting happened just as they were about to launch the whole design.
Oswald,
And Oswald couldn't get the money anymore.
It's Riley, Felice, and
So we
and
had to
Bam.
get a whole year in the budget cycle to
So
get
they're now
Riley.
saying
Did.
the three of
to get
them,
Riley to get the money.
the senator, the congressman, and the assemblyman have agreed to do the house, fund the reconstruction of the house. I just wanted it in writing.
I want it in writing and I'll believe it when I see it.
Okay, I'm
Well,
sorry.
it's right here. I'll show you on the, I'll show you.
No, but I'll believe it when I see it when there's like.
Example.
It's in the ground.
It's in this budget cycle.
Yeah.
So as soon as the budget goes through, Riley said it is his top priority.
That's only Riley, and it's not just his
Call
money.
his office.
It's
I've worked
three
in government
elected
for way
officials,
too long
okay?
to know that like nothing is final.
It's
until-
three elected officials, okay, that's it.
We had him, say, I'm going to do this. We've been consistently, and so is Janice, following up
8
with his
years.
office.
I know.
No, it was going to happen
No, I hear you.
years ago.
I know, I understand that, but I'm just.
Listen, listen,
Okay, we're
listen,
going
okay,
round
let's
and
go.
round and round.
Okay, let's go to new business.
Yes.
Any new business? No. Okay,
This is new
what time is it?
Okay.
Is that a hand up?
No, that, she left it up.
Take it down.
Time now. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone,
Here.
taking your
No,
time.
I know, no, I understand. I just know that that doesn't matter. Nothing matters until a contract is signed and
Okay,
shovels are in the
Paul?
ground.
Paul, Kevin Riley.
It doesn't matter. He can say whatever
Not
he
just
wants.
him. It's not just